pouring techniques with acrylic, and if you look online and see people do acrylic painting, there are 50 million things you can do to get different techniques. I'm awed by that. I just want to say though, we have kind of a new administration here in the club. So what we did was we carried over what they already had scheduled last year. So that's why Madeline is here. We did give her the opportunity to come. And next month's presenter will be Suzanne Gray. And where is she there? And she will be doing photography. So when we went around last week and said what we would like to do.
I'm the owner of War Paint Artwork, and as Paula said, I am a full-time artist. I didn't start as a full-time artist for a long time. I was just a student. I went to SU for my master's, and I studied art history. And so that's my main background has been art history, and it's very research-based and humanities. And I thought when I first started that I wanted to go into the curatorial world of museums. And so that's what I was studying for, and I really love my foundation of art history. It influences what I make now today. And so after I graduated, though, with my master's, I still didn't really have a direction. I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I thought I knew I wanted to go curatorial work, but I still didn't really have anywhere to go right away. So I was kind of in this place of, what do I do with my life? I don't know if many of you guys maybe have been there before. You're like, what do I do with my life? Maybe even there a couple times, I don't know. So I took a little breather from the art world. I was in school for a long time, so I just took a breather, kind of did some self-discovery, and then I decided to stay in Syracuse. I'm originally from California, Southern California, sunny Southern California, so I decided to stay here afterwards and told my family I'm going to live in Syracuse. And they're like, okay, you sure? I'm like, yeah. But I found myself here. I made some really good friends and ultimately my family. So I did some self-discovery and just started working in Syracuse, doing some odd jobs. I was in a medical office for a while. And then after the medical field, I was like, all right, I think I really want to get back into art. And so I actually went and I was a curatorial intern at the Everson back in 2018. And I still wanted to pursue curatorial work, but an opening in admin opened up, so I took the job in admin. And I was an admin at the Everson probably for 4.5 years. And it was in that time which I was great exposure again to art and just the art world and people and education. But it's just a very small kind of world, and you don't really get your foot in the door right away. It takes a long time. And so I got to the point where it's like, well, I can continue in, art administration, or I kind of got to this point I can actually pursue what I really wanted to do. And I've always loved to be an actual artist and to create and to make. I have a passion for teaching, which I hope you guys will be able to see that tonight. And I just got to this point where an opportunity where I had a decision to make. And I made the decision to become a full-time artist in 2022. And I started my business, War Paint Artwork. And I sell my work, and I teach classes just like this, and I host events. So just kind of getting and jumping in full time. And I love it. It's very uncertain at times. For those of you who are artists, you might know, like, you don't really know all the time, but you love what you do and you keep going and you learn along the way. So just a little bit again about me. So my name, War Paint, you're like, what does that mean? And where does that come from? It's a kind of multifaceted name. Really where it started was kind of like to be an artist. It's a bit of a struggle sometimes, and sometimes you just got to fight for that life of being an artist. So you got to put your war paint on, and you got to get out there, and you got to make, and you got to share your work despite any opposition or resistance, whether it's internal or external. So that's kind of the first level of it. I also really believe art connects people and brings lightness into the world and to people, and really just fights against darkness, whether again that's inside of yourself or around you. And so I like to use my art to bring light, joy, love, whatever it may be, to people that come across it. And so sometimes it's a battle because it's tough out there. So that's just a little bit of where that name comes from. I also make jewelry, kind of like silly, but people can wear my art, and so I sometimes just do a little bit of war paint on. Get out there, go live your life. So that's a little bit about me. I live in the Westcott neighborhood, so if you're ever around Westcott, I live up the street, so hopefully I'll see you. You can say hi. I live with my sister, our 2 dogs, so we have a good time. Okay, so let's jump into our demo tonight. Okay, so I primarily work in acrylic paint and acrylic pour painting. It's funny, Eva, right? Eva, okay, Eva also does that. I actually remember her from the Everson and some of her classes that she taught, so some things are probably very familiar. Learned. I think I did take one of your classes one time. It was a lot of fun. So I work, acrylic pour painting, and so the main material for acrylic pour painting is acrylic paint. And you can get any type of acrylic paint from any, craft store, Hobby Lobby, Michaels, even like Amazon, any acrylic paint out of the tube. You can use soft body acrylics, which are basically just a looser, softer paint. When it comes down to mixing the paint, it's a lot easier to mix a soft body because they're looser. Or you can do these hard body acrylics, which you may use them for crafts, canvas painting, and many types of activities. But again, right out of the tube, these are thicker. And when it comes down to the mixing, which I'll get to, these can be take a little bit longer to mix because they are harder. But sometimes the colors are a little more rich in these. So it's up to you. You can use whatever brand. You can use anything from Artist Loft, which is a basic kind of level 1 kind of paint. Liquitex. I use a lot of Liquitex Basics, and then if you want to use, some nicer, finer paints, that's up to you. But basically, any acrylic paint will work. So this is our base, okay? The reason why we call it acrylic pour painting is because once we mix it with a paint conditioner, this is my paint conditioner. It's called Floetrol, and what it does is it loosens the paint and increases the viscosity of the paint. And so when you mix the acrylic paint with the Floetrol, you can literally pour it on any surface. And so I'll demonstrate different types of surfaces you can pour the paint on, okay? So I'm going to do a few demonstrations of different pour techniques. There's so many acrylic pour painting, there's so many avenues and so many things you can do. Again, with acrylic pour painting, you can do it on any surface. There's a million techniques. You can blow into the paint, you can drag things through. Again, it's endless. So it's pretty fun because it's very experimental. And I always tell people, you really can't mess it up. I know sometimes when people are working with the paint, you're afraid to mess something up. I don't really think you can mess up acrylic pour painting because I don't believe it.
I accidentally put gloss varnish instead of the pouring.
Okay, all right.
And it came right off the
Yeah. So maybe the material.
Yeah. They were like the similar bottles.
You're like, wait a minute. Yeah. So maybe given the correct materials. Yeah. But it's very, very versatile, very organic, and we'll get into why it's very organic. But whenever I teach a class, I always tell everybody just to kind of relax. If you're a bit of a control freak, that's okay, because this will help challenge that a bit, and it's good for us, right? Good for us to let go with it, go with the flow, literally, and see what comes out. Okay. All right. So the first technique I'm going to demonstrate is going to be called a dirty pour, and a dirty pour is basically when you mix your paints in separate cups. And I picked 3 colors just to have a basic number of paints. You can mix as many colors as you want. That's completely up to you. But you mix each color separately with its Floetrol in a separate cup. And then you're going to pour all of the paint into 1 cup. And once it's in 1 cup, we're going to pour it all over our canvas. And so it's called a dirty pour because it's dirty. It's everything's in there. We're just going to throw it all in the cup and then we're going to pour it on there. Okay? So in the meantime, in just a second, I'm gonna ask for volunteers because when you do acrylic pour painting, you have to start with your base acrylic paint and then you have to mix it with your Floetrol. And so there is a stirring process with this technique. And that's one of the most important parts of acrylic pour painting is mixing your paint. You wanna make sure your paint is mixed well. So I say, well, if you're a bit of a control freak and you like to do things right, this is the one step you can do something right, is you just mix it really good, okay? So mix your paint really good, okay? Also, when I paint something or when I plan my colors, I like to think of picking different colors that contrast with one another, meaning mostly lights and darks. So I like to, in my brain, I like to pick a dark color, kind of a medium hue color, and then a light color. When I pick a dark color, I may pick green, and I might add some brown or black to darken it. If I pick a light color, I might pick blue, but I'll add some white to lighten it. And then usually that medium hue is just whatever comes out of the bottle, okay? So, as you're planning, as you're thinking, what colors do I want? Think about light, medium, and dark. Because when they dry, you get some very beautiful contrast between light colors, dark colors. I also love metallic, so anything gold and silver. Like, I love it. Like, give me more gold, like, I want gold in everything. If you guys want to pass this around too, this is an example of a mason jar that I'm going to do in a second, but you can kind of get an idea of how the dark and light and medium kind of mix together, okay? Okay, so while that's going around, I'm going to go ahead and start with the dirty pour. And so the colors I've selected for my dark is just a straight black out of the bottle. Don't be afraid of just going dark. My light would be considered a nice gold. And then I'm going to make purple. I forgot white, that's okay, we don't need white. But I'm going to make purple with blue and red, okay? So, who wants to stir? Who wants to try stirring on you? Okay. Good, yeah. Come on down.
Here, I'll stir one.
Yeah, here you go. So just start stirring.
This is something I've been trying to
Yes,
learn,
yes.
so.
So when you stir, okay, there's also, as you're stirring, I'm going to also talk about a ratio. There's a ratio between the amount of acrylic paint and Floetrol, okay? When I just teach classes, kind of basic intro classes, I usually have 9-ounce cups, and what I tell people is to grasp the base of the cup, so the bottom of your fingers is covering the cup. It's, give or take, depending how thick the paint is, that's how much paint I put in the cup. That's how much I start with, okay? So if you just, any cup, just grab the base, fill it with paint, you can eyeball it, and you can adjust the ratio afterwards. That's how much paint. When it comes to Floetrol, I believe, what I usually work is 1 part paint, 3 parts Floetrol. Again, if I'm working with a 9-ounce cup, I kind of squeeze the bottom and fill it with paint, and then I fill about half the cup with Floetrol, if you're kind of eyeballing it. Okay, and you gauge the consistency of the paint. You want the consistency of the paint to be like a nice milkshake, okay? If it's too watery or runny, that means you have too much Floetrol, and when you pour it, it's going to be very transparent and might wash out all your colors. If you want that kind of look, then cool, that's okay, go with that. But if you want kind of like nice richer colors, you want to make sure that you have a nice consistency of like a milkshake. And so you stir, and make sure you scrape the sides of the cup and the bottom of the cup. And sometimes when you mix the Floetrol with the paint, like it might make the paint look a little lighter. For example, sometimes it makes red look a little lighter, a little pinker. It's still gonna dry like red if you don't add anything to it. It just, usually your paints with the Floetrol are slightly colored because they're
We've
wet.
got so much red down here.
Yes,
Oh,
scrape
it's still
it up.
strong.
Yeah, so keep mixing, keep
Yeah,
going.
keep mixing.
Okay. So, while we're stirring,
Does
first,
this one look good?
yeah, so also the way you gauge it is you lift the popsicle stick and you kind of see if it drips off.
Like
Okay.
chocolate syrup.
Yeah, and just make sure it's all mixed. If it's stuck to your popsicle stick, that means you have too much paint, you add a little more Floetrol. If it's like water running off of your popsicle stick, that means you add a little more paint. And so you can kind of gauge from there, you can adjust from there. Awesome.
I can't get the red off my bottom.
That's okay. That's
Good
Good
effort.
Good effort. Keep going. Well, go ahead, keep mixing. Just do it.
Okay.
Usually too, when people ask, well, how do you know when you're done mixing? Usually when you think you're done, just go a little more. Okay? Just do a little more, and that's okay. So, first, anybody else want to mix paint while we're talking? And if you don't want to, that's okay. But if you want to, you want to mix some paint? Yeah.
Get up there.
I'm gonna have you get started on my next. Let's do some yellow. Just keep mixing.
Wonder where the yellow.
Yeah. All right. Any questions so far before we start pouring? Any questions? Any questions
So
about?
when
Yes.
you're layering, so like the way I did it, which like you said, there's a million ways, is
Yeah.
I did the flip cup way.
Oh yeah, I'll do that for my next one.
Okay,
Yep.
so like let's say you put the black in the cup first, so that's gonna be like the top color.
Yes.
Color, so then that kind of would like overtake, like when you order it,
Usually when you're thinking,
you would want like your mid on the top.
Well,
or
think
the
about-
first in the cup.
yeah, you think about which color you want to see most.
Okay.
And so whatever color you want to
You
see
put that
most,
in the cup
you put it in
first.
first. Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of how I think about it. So if I want,
Wait, no, you put it in last.
I put it in first.
You put it in first.
Yeah, because that's the last thing that's going to come out of the cup. And the last thing
Oh,
I'm-
yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if I want a canvas with more blue, then I'm going to put my blue in first and then add my other colors.
Okay.
You know, that's and it's you can control it a little bit, but that's kind of that'll
Okay.
affect it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, that was something I was trying to figure out when I did it. It was like,
Yes.
oh, my whole painting has a lot of black.
Yeah.
The first thing I put in.
Yes, I will say too, like if you're going straight, using straight black or straight white out of the bottle, they go a long way. They
Yeah,
spread a lot.
yeah.
For some reason about black and white, they spread. So, you know, you may not want to put equal parts of every kind of color paint into the cup, which I'll demonstrate right now. So, any other questions?
Do you prepare the canvases ahead of time for anything?
I don't. You know, I just make sure that it's clean. Not the canvases. I pretty much just go for it. If I'm using glass, I just make sure it's also clean. I wipe it down. The main thing for me is just to make sure there's no dust on it.
Canvas isn't gesso.
No, it's not. No, if you want to gesso it, you can. Yeah, there's
Would it make a difference in the end result?
I think it would be the same if you were to gesso. So if you work with acrylic paint on, just paint acrylic paint onto the canvas, it probably has the same effect.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never actually gessoed before. It's a great idea. It could give a little more texture too. But good question. So I don't know.
I'm just thinking because it would have more texture, maybe it would go slower, spread slower, no?
I think it may just affect the final pattern
Okay.
of what's on there because and you'll see it in a second, once you pour on the canvas, it continues to move and flow
Mhm.
and open up.
Okay.
And so if you have texture on your canvas, that'll just affect which way the paint is going and affect probably the final painting.
Have you ever used, like, you can buy grounds, like acrylic grounds, that you can give you like a lot of texture? Have you ever tried that?
I've never tried that. No, I've added glitter afterwards. I put glitter. I haven't really added too much to my painting once I pour it. But I mean, and some people, and this is all depending on your personal preference too. Sometimes people just prefer a very flat, smooth canvas. People find that appealing, and I think majority of people find that appealing. I'm okay with texture. You know, I'm okay with bubbles. I'm okay with a little bit of bumps. That's totally fine. And that's a cool thing with acrylic pour painting is you can experiment. You can totally experiment with, you know, what you're putting on your canvas.
So where did you get your silver pans? You said
Walmart.
Walmart?
I was
That's
just
the
telling
first one I
Paula.
asked.
I know, I
Yeah.
was wondering that.
I was just telling Paula. Yeah, a lot of this too is supplies. You know, which supplies do you like to use? What supplies do you prefer? I am particular, especially as I teach classes, what kind of supplies I use, and I love these big oven trays from Walmart because I've used stuff from Amazon. I've used stuff from the dollar store, and these are just sturdy and they have a lot of space because we're gonna have a lot of overflow of paint. Also, just kind of as a side note, once we pour, the patterns in the tray that fall from the canvas or whatever item, when they dry, they're beautiful. They're so beautiful. It's just like a second canvas.
You can peel it
And so
out.
I peel that. I actually make jewelry out of that.
Yeah.
I make jewelry out of that, and I
Yeah.
glue glass on top and make charms, and I can do earrings, and so there's so much you can do even like post pour once it dries. And
I
again,
like your trick with the little cups, cause the couple times I did this, I set it
Yes.
on cardboard and I had to like
Yes.
scrape it on the cardboard.
yes, Yeah, I've seen like it sticks, and so I try to elevate that, and you'll see here, I'll actually remove these items off of the canvas, and it's nice to have the space, and also to like let them dry on the side too. But yeah.
You know what else you can do
Mm-hmm.
is you can cover your silver things there with freezer paper. So then when the acrylic comes down, you can actually store that then without ruining your plates, without having to pull it off the plate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because at one point I had stacks of these acrylic skins and I didn't know what to do with them. I eventually used
Yeah,
them,
like
but they do last a long time.
yeah. This is like just so many different things you can do. Okay, so let's get pouring, and we'll keep mixing along the
Do
way.
you want me
Okay.
to stir?
Yes, I love some help stirring. Yeah. And if
You
you
look
want,
like
if
you
anybody
need
wants to
help.
sit and stir, you can sit there and stir too. That's
Oh, I'll sit and stir.
Yeah. You don't need to come up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to stir too?
No.
That's fine. That's okay.
I'll wear it.
It's like sipping paint, right? Sip and stir.
You look like you need it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna have to stare at me stirring, which you know is fine too. I'll stir. Yeah. Grab one and stir. Okay. So while we're stirring, yeah, we're gonna start pouring.
You
Okay.
want these stirred?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. All right, so let's do our first dirty pour. Okay, the first dirty pour we're gonna pour all of our colors into this cup. The next one we're gonna do a dirty pour, but we'll do the flip cup technique. I'm sorry, what was her name? She was talking about what Christina was talking about, the flip cup. Okay. All right, so dirty pour. The order of your paint, like I said, the first color you put in your cup is going to be the last color you see. So
Is that gonna be make it predominant?
It may, just depends how much you put in. So if you want, I'm gonna start with blue or purple, this nice shade that we've created. You can put just a little, or you can put a lot. That's up to you. Okay. But the more paint you put in the cup in the beginning that's the amount of paint that's gonna come at the end. So to kind of like break that up a bit, you just put a little bit of paint, and then we're gonna begin to alternate the colors. Okay. So next, I'm gonna do some gold, and you can, when you pour the paint, you can stir it around. I also like to pour when I'm doing dirty pours. I like to pour a little high, and the reason being is because it creates these air bubbles, which are called cells, when you pour on the canvas. And the reason why they're called cells is because they look like cells in a microscope. And those are also very attractive in acrylic pour painting. And
You
so
don't torch them.
you don't torch them. Now, you can. I've seen people do like some heat.
Yeah, that's just an.
Yeah, I actually blow air on mine once I pour, you'll see. But just to kind of help that process, it's just a little easy like tip, just pour a little high, like high above. So not necessarily down here, but up here. Okay, and in this, if you get messy, that means you're doing it right. Okay, so you see my apron, right? Like this is. All right, so then I'm gonna put some black. This black is very rich, so I'm gonna only put a dash of it. Okay, and then I'm gonna begin to repeat this process until my cup is pretty much full. Okay, so I'm gonna do some blue, and then I'm gonna repeat it with some gold. I'm gonna put a little more gold in there. I love that. Gold. And then I'm gonna put
your own black?
this black is just straight from the bottle.
Oh, straight
Yeah,
from the bottle?
yeah.
So how do you determine the size of the canvas and how much paint you really need without wasting a whole lot
That's a
of
good
paint?
question. Usually these canvases, which are anywhere, this is like an 8x8 to even to the size of a 10x10, depending how thin or like the viscosity of your paint, you can do a full 9-ounce cup. If you fill it up to the top, it'll cover. I've done like larger, like 16x24 canvases. I usually use a couple like red solo cups full of paint.
You're really using more Floetrol.
The Floetrol, yeah. It's mostly the Floetrol, which that's the most expensive part of this demonstration. All right, so I'm gonna do one more round of some blue, and then some gold, and then some black, and then we're gonna do this dirty pour right now. Okay, so this is just about full. All right, I know it's gonna cover. It's gonna be fine.
I think gold.
The way you pour on the canvas is completely up to you. You can start from the outside, go in. You can go inside out. You can just pour it on one area. That's completely up to you, okay? I'm just gonna go from the outside in, inside out. And I'm just gonna go in a circle, okay? Very simple. And you know what? I'm just gonna kind of just go all the way around, okay? Until my cup is completely empty. And this is already looking fantastic. I love the kind of this galaxy look that's coming. I'm gonna let that drain on that cup. Okay, so now we have this kind of blob of paint, and this is gonna change. So when you pour on your canvas, just have in mind it's gonna change. If you want to completely leave it and don't touch it, and it'll dry and see what happens, that's okay. But as it begins to sit, we're gonna pick this up, it's gonna change. So have fun with that, you know, see what happens, see where it takes you. I'm gonna pick up my canvas, and again, some people wear gloves, I get in there, up to you, okay? And we're gonna begin to move the paint around the canvas. I'm gonna go in circular motions because I would like my whole canvas covered. If you like the negative space, that's okay too, but I'm gonna begin to move it around in a circle until all of my edges are covered. And you're gonna begin to see that begin to cover that, okay? So we kind of have this little galaxy thing happening, which is so fun. Okay, and move that, cover the edge there, and then I'm gonna kind of toss it towards me. And then once this is covered, I'm gonna set it down, and the last thing I like to do is to throw some air on it to open up those bubbles. And you can already kind of see those gold kind of
Yeah.
cells open
Yeah.
it. Same thing with the
Yeah.
black here in the corner. You have a gold, purple, but you have those black cells coming out underneath.
Can you put an iridescent in there?
You could put, yeah, I use
mean,
those.
it's not gonna affect, it's not gonna separate the other colors?
No, I mean, iridescent, I guess I would think would be similar to like a metallic. And,
Yes, that's what I meant.
yeah, and so the gold, I use a lot of gold, I use a lot of silver, I use copper kind of colors, and they dry beautifully. They are still like, they don't get eaten up. And I like to kind of cheat and use like this little finger
I was
paint.
gonna ask you if you make sure the sides are all covered.
Yeah. I do, and I
would
just
too,
I
yeah.
just kind of finger paint the edges if they're a little blank. So like here, you know, that's okay. All right,
On this side too.
I'm gonna grab. I have paper towel somewhere. Here we go. All right, so as that sits, what I like to do again is throw some air on that, and you can just blow on it, or you can use a straw. And that will begin to open up those cells in there, okay?
What is it in the Floetrol? I know there's something in there that causes that to the cells.
I don't know the chemical exactly. I mean, do you know that? I don't know exactly what.
Yeah.
I don't know the chemical exactly. That kind of opens it up.
Yeah.
There's